Good morning, another Saturday. Welcome to Step Up Talks. Today we are going to look at the second part of how to earn money, basically looking at how you can leverage on different resources to be able to earn the revenue that you would want to earn. Basically, we know that a day has so many hours, and at times, depending on how you look at it, you can either earn your 1+1, which is 1, as we discussed last week, or you can make a choice. Your 1+1 will be equals to whatever number that you choose. It could be infinity, it could be 2, it could be 10. So today we want to explore those the avenues and see how best to do that. And with us in studio, we have two guests and our usual panelists. So let them introduce themselves before we start. Chantal?
Hi, good morning, everyone. I hope your Saturday is coming along fine. My name is Chantal Mamu. I am a business analyst. Thank you.
Okay. Patrick?
Good morning. This is Patrick Konambisi. I've been here before. I deal with youth and we do mentorship and coaching and also running business development programs for youth and small businesses. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Collins?
Good morning, everyone. My name is Collins, a teacher by passion and profession, and happy to be here to impact the youth. Asante sana.
Thank you very much. So just to give us a reminder of what we talked about last week, let me share the cash flow quadrant for us to have a better understanding of what we are going to discuss today. So last week, I hope you are all seeing the cash flow quadrant. So last week we looked at the left-hand side where we talked about the employee, where you have a job. Probably you work from 8 to 5 p.m. So your productive time is actually held up in a certain job. We also looked at self-employment where you actually trade your expertise, your skill, and earn money out of it. Similarly, where you are is where you earn from. So you can't be in two places at one time. So basically that is the left-hand side. Today we want to focus on the right-hand side, the business owner, where you create systems and you are able to generate revenue out of that, as well as the investor, where you're investing whatever money you have and it generates more money for you. So our experts today are going to share with us that to be able to put it into context. And we appreciate that many of us as youth, probably we have not moved to the right-hand side of the cash flow quadrant. But what we would like to ask you is just have an open mind and see what are the opportunities that present themselves so that as you plan your journey, you know that I'm here today, but tomorrow I can actually be on this other part. So we'll start by looking at just putting it into context. I'll start with you, Patrick, because the business owner is on top. I'll start with you. What is the definition of a business owner? When the youth is thinking about a business owner, what should they have in mind? Because many think that by being self-employed and running a business, you're actually a business owner. Help us differentiate the two.
Thank you, Anne, for having me and also allowing us to share this weekend. It's usually an honor and privilege to talk to the youth because it's a group that is full of energy, a group that, as they say, is about 60% of our population. So we are really banking on them to turn around the economy and help us to grow. As you rightly put it, the two sides of the quadrant, by definition, the left side is where you talked about being actively involved. You're actively involved in spending your time, whether employed or self, you're actively involved as an individual. But the right side, where you're passive, your presence is not ideally needed per se. But you have engaged in terms of the resources, you have engaged in terms of putting structures, you have engaged in terms of putting systems, and therefore the structures and systems are the ones helping you to generate money. Where structures, I'm looking at where we are looking at resources, you're looking at the finances, you're looking at the human resource, you've employed people, and therefore either people or a person, because I don't want to really sound so big out of the scale for the youth. We'll be looking at examples, but as I start with this definition, I'm looking at you starting an M-Pesa shop. An M-Pesa shop, and you're putting somebody to run the M-Pesa shop for you. So you have a system where the platform being run by Safaricom, for example, is handling the concept of you controlling the way money comes in, money goes out. So already there's a system running there for you. Another resource is the human person you have put there. An individual who is running the M-Pesa shop, attending to customers as they come out and come in. Therefore, this is a business you have set, running on its own. You don't need to be there for the business to run. So such are what we are talking about. You are now a business owner running an M-Pesa shop. So by definition, that's what a business owner is all about.
Okay, thank you. Before I move to the investor quadrant, probably you can just share with us what are the advantages and disadvantages of being a business owner, and how exactly do you generate money in that quadrant?
Wow, that's a very good question. When you've sneaked out and now you are a business owner, one, of course, there is a lot of freedom. Let me start with the advantages. There's a lot of freedom in that you are now making decisions. You are not tied to somebody telling you wake up at 8 and I need you to be here up to 5. Right now, you have a liberty of going to see what is going on. Stay, for example, in your business at whatever time you want. So one of the critical advantages is that you're a boss. You're a boss, and people can call you sir, and people can call you madam. I mean, those are titles that are preserved for those who own businesses. As I said, your flexibility of working hours. I mean, you can move in at whatever time you want to move in, and and see what's going on. You also have what we can call greater income, not like the way you are as an employee, because the business you're now talking of profits, depending with the cycles of revenue. You can have a business that is giving you revenue daily. Let me use the example I've used about the M-Pesa. M-Pesa is giving you money daily because of the commissions you get. So that is a daily income. You're not tied to the 30 days cycle. So you have advantage of you being able to get money at different cycles. And of course, there's also that personal satisfaction that you are living a dream. You are able to do what you thought was, I mean, this is my dream. I wanted to become financially free. So you have the freedom and living a dream that you so wish to do. And there are various other examples. You are able to, as you say, as a boss, you can hire and fire. So those are the little ABCDs that come in with the freedom that goes with a business owner. Disadvantages are also there, and there are also many. One of them is that the business relies on you. The business relies on you first and foremost to set it up. And setting up means that you need to be the dream owner, or the one who is dreaming on behalf of that company. You're the one who is going to tell us today, under COVID, I want to start, producing product A, product B. If you don't dream on behalf of the company, chances are that the company will suffer the lack of advancing. Two, you need to know that now you'll be the one to finance the business as it starts. You need to be the one to know that now it relies on you when times are hard and tough. It's you who is supposed to cough in the resources in terms of financing the business. It's you also who is supposed to be able to ensure that you have the best human resource for the business. Because again, as a business owner, we know that getting the best human resource is not that easy. So it's also you to be able to know how to get the right human resource to work with. Also, you need to know that businesses also can suffer if, in the event that you don't have issues of handing over, what we can call transitional plan. So as a business, you also need to know, how am I going to ensure that my business survives beyond me? So some of those little things come in, and they can be they can bring the downside of a business owner. Uh, let's stop at that for now.
Okay, thank you so much. And probably Collins, would you have anything to say about that before we come to Chantel? Because she seems to be having some network issues. She's back. Collins, sorry, she's back.
Okay.
Yeah.
Patrick,
Hi, sorry about the network problems. So I think on the investor side, would define an investor as someone who puts in capital into a business. So as Patrick has mentioned, at times you may start your business and you may be lacking the aspect of capital. So what an investor then does is put in capital into an already existing business opportunity or business idea. It may be new, it may be an idea or an opportunity that has been there over a while. So that's typically who an investor is. Yes.
Okay. And what are some of the pros and cons? And probably just scale it down to the level of the youth, given that they're just starting out in life. How can they become investors if they so choose to do that? Yeah.
Yeah. As we had mentioned earlier, the good thing about this quadrant or this half of the quadrant, more flexibility. So it means you have more time to work on other things if you're either a business owner or an investor. And then you also have a leeway of choosing what you're investing in. So it's more of, in terms of freedom and flexibility, that's what you get as an investor majorly. And then just to scale it down for us to understand, it's not a big term. Anyone can become an investor. It's just about you choosing particularly to know that this is where I want to spend the extra savings that you have. So you save as you're still working on other things. You can be having some savings on the side, so you know that this is some extra money I have, and instead of it just sitting and staying around, I'm going to invest it into this opportunity, or just putting in some money in something that will earn you something back in the return. Yeah. So majorly the advantage is being flexible and having more freedom.
Okay. Now, just before I leave you, would you have any example? Because just to help our audience have a better understanding, what are some of the areas that they can invest in, so that as we move along, they already can process that? Yeah.
Okay. For most people who are starting up to do investment in other opportunities, most people start with investing in things such as money markets, which is where you give a company, say, for instance, a bank or an insurance company, some money. There's some who can give you from as low as 1,000 shillings to as high as whatever amount you have. So you just put in the money and then it earns you return. It is seated somewhere and it's earning you return at around, say, 10% to 12% per annum. So the money markets, there's investments in real estate, other instruments such as government treasuries and government bonds. Yeah.
And probably just one part of it, how do they generate money in this particular quadrant? Because they're investing their money, they're putting their money, yes, but how do they make money out of that?
So most agreements, when you're getting into investments, there will be an agreement for, say, reviewing the terms per year. So, like if it's a money market you're investing in, your returns are usually computed per year. So, say you put in 1,000 shillings right now, and then given the approximate interest rate, say at around 9, 10, 11, or 12%, by the end of the year, you have earned a 12% on your initial capital that you put in. So if you're investing in someone else's business, then you set up the terms as and when you're investing, and it is known that if for whatever profit the business makes, you're earning this in return. Yeah.
Are there any advantages or disadvantages of generating or earning money from this particular quadrant?
Yes, there are. The advantage is, again, it is money, say you had saved aside. So it is typically money you're not planning on using. You just had it as an extra income or savings. So you're going to earn something on the money that you're not using. And then the disadvantage would be that there is a possibility that at times funds may lose on, say if it's in the money markets, depending on how the markets perform, or if it's in someone else's business, there's that risk that the business may not make a profit. So in the end, you may not earn the return you are looking at.
Okay, thank you so much. And I think as we move along, we'll actually have a better understanding of this particular quadrant. Now, coming back to you, Patrick.
And maybe just to add on Chantel's area of investment, the government, I think was it last year? I think last year they had someone can confirm that they had this for the investment. I think the T-bills, but they're using the mobile platform. Chantel, I want to believe that is an example of that.
Yes.
So it's very easy for the youth also to make into that. Maybe I don't know whether you have a better. I may not just have been woven over it, but you can have a better understanding of that model that the youth can very easily involve themselves.
Okay, so it was, again, it is something that the government has been giving before, just that plugging it into a way that a common wananchi or someone at any level can be able to access, getting to invest their funds into the government treasuries. It's called M-Akiba. And what you do, you just use your mobile phone and buy a bond. So say depending on, there are three different types. So depending on say if you're looking at a 1 year or 3 years or 5 years term. So it all depends on the length of time you want your money invested in with them. Yeah, so it's, you typically can buy a government bond on your phone. So when they're out floated, you just use your phone. There is a USSD code and type in, so from the minimum amount stated by the government to whatever maximum amount there is. And then after the term of period, you get back your money with some earned interest, depending on the rate and how the performance has been over the years.
Wow, thanks a lot, Patrick. Collins, do you want to say anything before we move to the next question?
No, we are good. I think I'm really liking what Patrick and Chantal are bringing to the table.
Okay, thank you. So now coming back to you, Patrick, the issue of transitioning from the left side of the quadrant to the right-hand side, because last week we explored the left-hand side, and as you rightly put it, it is where you are actively involved. How do we make that shift from being very actively involved to actually setting up systems that work for you and generate revenue for you, whether you are there or not?
Thank you, Anne. That's a very good and daring question. It's daring because it harbors a lot of about three areas, and maybe I'll handle one or two, and then leave my colleague Chantel to handle the next two or three. When you need to shift one, there's a need for you to shift to an area you are familiar. You need to be very familiar to the area you're going, because as I usually say, there's a learning curve. Learning curve means, just like in school, you have to pay fees. You're now, in this scenario, you're paying to experience, you're paying to conmanship, you're paying to brokers, you're paying to people now who know the game better than you, right? Assuming I want to go into, I used an example of an M-Pesa shop, right? Yeah, or let me shift to another example. I go to Matatu. I buy a motorbike. I buy a vehicle transporting people from point A to point B. Now, if you go to a Matatu industry, for example, it's an industry that has been there for a while, and experiences are there. As I usually say, there are groups that manage stations, manage bus stations. So you are coming in with your matatu. They'll tell you first and foremost, you need to pay a certain amount of money for you to get into the society or to get into the community or to get into a particular circle, right? And then when you got inside there, I remember one time somebody was telling me the owner of a particular matatu decided to be going with the matatu from point A to B so that they don't steal his money. You know the number of people who have come in and the number of people who are leaving your matatu and stuff like that. So as a business owner in this scenario, it requires that you need to have the, what do you call it, the guts, the courage to jump into areas that are new to you. So for you to transition, it means you must have the courage to jump. You must have the courage to go into areas it's the game is being played differently. So that is one of the most critical points that you need to know. And as I said, you also need to go to an area that you have some knowledge about. If you are not in logistics and transport business or know something about it, don't go into that. Utagongwa. Utagongwa, utaumia, and by the time you learn the game, you have already lost even over $1 million in the process. So try to go to an area where at least you know the game a bit. For example, you want to go into how do you call it, training. You want to train people in agribusiness, for example, and you have not been in agriculture. You have not practiced agriculture. You have not done anything that deals with agriculture. Just that you need to pay people to do that job for you, or you need to, when they down their tools, you are grounded. You don't know where to begin and how to start. So there's importance that you jump into areas that at least there's some level of familiarity. Or if you have to, then you need to have a partnership with somebody who understands that. The person who is guiding you, or the team leader, or somebody who is leading you into the business, then understands the game. You're going into saloon business. You want to open a saloon, kinyozi and stuff like that. Guys have been there for a while. They know the game. Watu wangapi walikuja leo? Ni watu wawili, madam. Na hii mafuta umetumia sana. Why? Mafuta yenyewe imeteremka chini, and yet all that mafuta they have been using on their own client. So you need to go to a business that at least you understand that this is a business or the person you're working with understands. Let me allow Chantel to pick up from there a bit, and then maybe I'll chip in again.
Okay. So as Patrick has mentioned, there's first of all need to go into something that you understand. However, if it is something that you're also passionate about and you are willing to learn, you can put in time and research. Do a lot of research into something before you go in. Will help to you and also if you're going to be a business owner, to the people you're going to employ, so that you also have something you're impacting them with. You see, then if you're an investor, if you want to make a shift to being an investor, you also need to do research into the companies you're going to invest in, into the businesses you want to invest in. If you have noticed that your friend has a very nice running business, they have started up, say, a tuk-tuk biashara, they're going on with it. You have to do a lot of research to understand how the business runs, so that you know at this and this point in time, this person will need this amount of capital, and I am able to give them some help or give them a loan for them to continue with their business, which means that I may get back, depending on how the business is running, I may get back my income after this and this a period of time. So doing research into something into the business you want to start or into the business you want to invest in is very, very much important. Then there is need for you to change your mindset, because the mindset of someone who is getting into employment or someone who's a business owner and who is self-employed, the mindset is different from someone who is an investor or a business owner. Because you see, as a business owner, as we mentioned earlier, the person you now have to start laying down systems and knowing where capital is coming in from and how you're going to use up the funds to manage your business. So there is need for you to change your mindset and understand that anything is doable as long as you put in the effort and the passion you have in your business or in your investment. So there is you need to have a mindset of a business owner, knowing that whatever obstacle I'm going to face, I am going to crush it because this business is mine. You need to put in the mindset of being an investor and understanding that yes, as an investor, there's risk that I may lose my money. So what happens if I'm going to lose my money? Or I may make this amount of money. What am I going to do with it after I have made it? Then you also need to, the other thing that we mentioned for you to have a smooth transition from the left side to the right side is that you need to be passionate about what you're doing. Because businesses, running things out here is not hard and it is not easy. There are obstacles you're going to face. So if it is something that you don't have passion for, it is hard for you to tackle all those obstacles. So you need to have passion and know that I'm going to be able to push through because the passion or the need I'm feeling inside me is greater than what is going on around me. So yes, majorly the change of mindset, having passion of what you're going into doing, and as Patrick had mentioned, the need to be skillful in something or going into something that you already have knowledge for is important for you to make the shift. Probably Patrick has another point he may want to add on.
Thank you, Chetel. I mean, another very crucial point is to have a mental strength, and mental strength here I mean is that I'm reminded of a governor of Uasin Gishu, who say that in siasa unaweka kama pumuzi, inaingia ukipumua imeenda, is that you don't put things into your heart, right? I want to borrow that same statement from Governor of Uasin Gishu, Mandago. Similarly to business, mental strength means that the tool of trade in business is money. And money sometimes becomes very emotive. It's something that you have and you can lose. My colleague has mentioned that it's both easy and not easy. Now, let me handle the not easy, because the easy one, you'll be hanging and rolling all the way to the bank. There are times you can invest. There are times you can put your money. And true to the point, you lose. Because it's the tool of trade. The tool of trade in business is money. And you can put in money and you lose. So as a youth, take the words of Governor of Uasin Gishu, Mandago. Don't take it and go into depression, because you're jumping in an area that might not be very familiar. You're putting all the money you've borrowed from your mother, father, and the relatives and everybody, and then you put in the money, and you put in the saloon, you put into the border, you put into the whatever. Then the guy goes, unfortunately, the border gets an accident. I mean, it's done. It's done. So as Manago says, watch pumua, in, out, wake up and move. So I'm targeting to deal with your mental capacity, mental strength. Let your mental strength be very strong, because running business does not require people who have, rondogo. Rondogo cannot survive in business. Don't even dare if you have rondogo pali, because things are tough, things are hard sometimes, and it requires that you jump in knowing that I need some strength mentally, so that you don't jump into depression. You don't jump into, doing some stupid, funny things. Why? Because your business went down. You just need to get up, try another business, and life will go on. Thank you, Anne.
Thank you so much. Wow. That is very insightful. And it's important for us actually to call a spade, because many a times people say, biashara ni rahisi. But let's get some of the facts and get to know, yeah, it can be easy, but it cannot equally be hard, depending on how we look at it. Now, just coming to you, Collins, I'm just wondering, from the school setup, do we have some of the students who talk about business? Do we have students who actually feel that they need to be part and parcel of entrepreneurship? And how do you go about handling such kind of students? Because it's important in terms of shaping their mindset.
Thank you very much, Anne. I like what Patrick and Chantal have brought to the table on business being tough, and you need passion and you need the drive to go through. So I'll start with a short story of something that happened to one of my students. So on a very fateful day, it's a very sunny day, one of the students spotted a very good art material that was drawn by another student. So this student went and approached the owner of the art and bought it at only 50 shillings. And then took the art and marketed it for 1,000 shillings and actually sold it to another student in school for 1,000 shillings. So that student made 950 shillings profit on that piece of art. Now, I have none of this if the student who bought it hadn't felt duped. So the student went around looking for help to see how he can recover his money. So the thing escalated from the students, went to the student council, and then later on landed on my desk. So this was a very interesting thing. The first time I saw it, I thought, wow, I have a businessman here. But now, if not managed properly, this would lead to a very young business person. But if handled properly, it would make a very great business person in Kenya. So I sat them down, sorted the issue, and gave the two a lesson on how to transact business. But of course, they had to get some sort of punishment because no business is allowed in school. But having made them understand what is business, what they've done is, yes, business, the wrong place, wrong time, and the wrong way. So that way, that would push that student later on to understand that, yes, I can do this, but I have to do it the right way. Now, back to the question, away from the interesting story. In school, teaching business studies and teaching entrepreneurial studies is not everything. That will not give the students what they need. Schools need to go deeper and build critical thinking of the learners, because in business and in investing, you need to think critically. They need to ask themselves what, why, where, how. And if they're able to answer these questions critically, then they'll be able to handle the business side properly. Another thing also is building on creativity. Schools, parents, and guardians should be able to motivate learners to be creative. There are people selling shoes, but if I go into the shoe market, how creatively can I penetrate through the market and make my own niche? That is what we need to make our learners be able to do. There's something that Chantal and Patrick brought out, and schools, teachers, parents should work hard in impacting the youth with. They talked about, if you're going into a business that you don't know, you need to look for a partner. Now, this boils down to teamwork. If a child is not brought up understanding the value of teamwork, then they will not understand the value of partnership. So there's group discussions in school. I might be teaching biology, I might be teaching chemistry, but I should be able at my subject level to inculcate teamwork in a positive way. where they can critique each other, they can discuss and come out with something valuable at the end of the day. So they'll learn chemistry and they'll learn teamwork, which they can now come and use outside to help them avert some of the issues that come with going into uncharted waters for them, like heading into a business that they don't understand. Global awareness is also another thing. If our learners do not understand the globe, we usually encourage our 21st century learners to be global thinkers and local actors, in that you know everything that is taking place around the world. If you need something nowadays with the internet, you can simply order it from the US and it comes to Kenya, and you continue with what you're doing. Or if you have a problem in Kenya and that problem has been solved somewhere else in the world, thanks to the internet and people being globally aware, they can be able to borrow one or two things and create a solution for their local problem from what they've learned from outside. So all that put together in the day-to-day running of the school, day-to-day interaction of parents and learners and guardians, this will bring up a child who will be able to sustain him or herself when they decide to move from the right side to the left side. And lastly, and very important, and this was mentioned by, I think, Patrick or Chantal, developing learners with growth mindset. A learner who look at a problem and think of a solution, and not see a problem and see a stone wall and stop there and start hoping for it to disappear. But coming up with a learner who will see a problem, think of ways of moving around it, having that growth mindset, and is willing to move from point A to point B and using challenges to learn. This is where we talk about learners should be able to unlearn, relearn, and learn. So they should be able to see a challenge, learn and learn everything they know, relearn what they need for that for the given problem, and then move ahead and tackle it properly or accordingly the way it should be. Yeah, so that is how I believe schools, teachers, and parents can come in to help the youth or the learners from a very early age, so that when they get to that time, they're able to move ahead. Back to you, Anne.
Wow, thank you so much, Collins. I'll put a pause a bit in terms of reacting to what he said. No, let me just, before I ask my questions, Patrick, do you have anything to add to what he said in terms of what the role that schools, parents, teachers can play as a parent? Or maybe you are a teacher. What do you think?
Thank you. And I usually like listening to Collins. I've been following him throughout the programs. And he usually articulates very researched topics, going all the way to what's happening out and coming back to the local content. He has mentioned certain things which I wanted to just pick up from there. One time when we were dealing with youth and we were in the business of trying to encourage them to become entrepreneurs, meaning that you are shifting them from the left to the right, getting into becoming business owners and investors, a question was popped. Does it mean that all of us must do business, right? Does it mean all of us must do business? And Collins has articulated one or two things there when he's talking about one, teaching us about teamwork, and two, teaching us about innovation, and three, teaching us about looking at problems, right? Not going to the streets to throw placards and throw stones, but looking at problems and try to wriggle around the problem by coming up with solutions. The youth who are 60% are at a stage where they are at a stage where they can risk. They are at a stage where their minds are untested, meaning that they can think, they can dare ideas. These are times when you can create a plane which can fly and yet doesn't have an engine. These are stage where you'll want to take sand and want to make salt from sand without, it's a stage where everything is possible to you. You have not tested anything in life in terms of whether it can work or not work. So at the stage where the youth are, is a stage where innovation should be at their backbone. Is a stage where you look at what's happening in Kenya and think of how do I bring solutions to this. I'm aware that we have IT based they're called hubs, IT based institutions which are running all over the country. There was one in Nairobi, there's one in Kisumu, there's one in the Rift Valley. All these IT based hubs try to bring in youth so that they can be innovative in providing solutions that are IT based. So youth should be encouraged to go to such places. And as they go to such places, they are learning to bring out their intuition, they're learning to bring out their creativity, they're learning to bring out their internal ability to think, internal ability of looking beyond what we can see. So the youth should dare to go to such places and should dare to try and create solutions other than going back and relaxing. I tend to be the kind of persons who doesn't want to encourage youth to go to, I'll call them jobs or environment that don't cause their brains to think. I'm not looking down on the border rider, but I'm just thinking if you are a border rider, the best you can is to place yourself with a motorbike and wait for the customer to come, drop from point A to B, wait for another rider. But how I wish that a youth could come in with an app, a system that can be able to help this border rider so that you don't usitegee client kwa stage. You're in your house, the app, just the way the Uber does, just the way, I know those apps are there for the whatever, but I'm trying to push them to start thinking on the same platform, the same line of thinking, that why don't you now make life easier for people by creating such kind of things. So when we are talking about the roles of schools, roles of parents, roles of guardians, roles of, all those people that are surrounding them in terms of mentoring the youth, in terms of coaching the youth, then let's look at them going into such kind of incubation processes. You're going into places where you tease your brain, you tease your mind, and let your mind think to bring solutions, instead of us going back and just crying and feeling the time has gone and stuff like that. People who are over 40 years and 50 years, they have done their bit and they tend to start going into the evening of their life. But as a youth of 20s, a youth of 18, a youth of 22, the best year, I mean, you just need to dare your brain, dare and think, let it fail. But as you fail, you are learning in the process. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And one of the things that I really like about what you've talked about innovation, I always challenge the youth, especially youths in technical institutions. Look at the local challenges and provide local solutions. Borrow from the global perspective and come up with local solutions, because that is how we are going to create opportunities for ourselves. That is how we are going to create employment for others, for our sisters, for our brothers. So I really like that you are daring the youth to be more innovative, to take up challenges. Thank you for that. And I don't know, Chantal, if you have anything to add to that particular topic.
As Collins has put it, and also as Patrick has added on, it is more about how you're doing, creating solutions for problems that are already existing. And you see, there may be solutions that are already existing as well. So the point of you coming in, of you using your brain and using your skill set in doing it, is how you're going to do it. There's a saying I once read somewhere that you don't become successful by what you're doing, it is by how you're doing it. So how you're handling your matters, how you're creating solutions, how your solutions are going to impact other people is what is going to make you successful. Yes, that's it, I think.
Thank you. It is the how. Because the what, basically everybody has the what, but the how. That is the main differentiator. Let me just read a comment from one of our audience members, Flo Jep, and she says, Collins, you're very pragmatic, echoing what Patrick has said. Great presentation. In college, we have very good business plans that end up in the shelf after marks are sent to the neck. As trainers, we need to incubate their ideas and mentor them. Collins, visit colleges and impress your ideas to trainers. Maybe I just give you a minute to react to that, to respond, Collins.
Thank you very much, Anne. And to our viewer, Flo, thank you. Actually, it's true. We have a lot of good business plans that are written. And actually, let me just extend this a little bit further. We also have these theses and researches which are being done, and they end up in shelves gathering dust after the marks have been awarded, which is a very, very wrong thing. I think I'd like to implore all educators, anyone in the education sector, be it from the nursery level, secondary, primary, secondary, to the tertiary, they should try their level best to impact the youth in a positive way. And let us help these ideas that are being written down to see the light of day. It is really, really important. Back to you, Anne.
Thank you very much. And it's very sad. From a personal experience, I remember one of the requirements for me to graduate in a certain higher diploma course was to do a business plan. And I did a lot of research and I came up with a beautiful document. Actually, I wanted to implement it. Patrick wacha kunicheka. I wanted to implement it. And nowadays I look at people doing what I had thought of almost 15 years ago. And I'm like, yes. So please, if we can, let us mentor the young people. As they come up with business plans, let us have a follow-through, a follow-up to ensure that if they're in a position to implement, let them get the necessary support. And one of the things we do in our coaching and mentorship program is actually that. And we encourage innovations, we encourage research, because research is what informs those particular innovations. Research is what gets you thinking outside the box or without the box. So Flo, thanks for that comment, and Collins, thanks for bringing that idea up. Now, moving on. When Collins presented the issue of the example of the children, the students who are doing business in school, I kind of felt proud for the broker, in quotes, and that brought into my attention the issue of brokerage, especially when we look at agribusiness. And Patrick, I want to come to you because I know you deal a lot with agribusinesses. I want to come to you. There is the farmer on the ground. There is this broker who comes in, takes this produce at very low cost and comes to sell them in urban areas at very high cost. I know it's a business niche for them. And probably opportunities present themselves in that particular package. What would you say in terms of how youths can tap into such, but also bring some ethics into it, as opposed to ile kufinyiliana? I don't know, what thoughts would you have on this issue of brokerage? Because it has made many people fear getting into farming.
Thank you, Anne. And I want to maybe react to that by using 2 or 3 areas that we have already seen out here. One, just picking up from so that I don't lose what I wanted to mention when Collins talked about when one of the audience mentioned about research documents that are lying 1 or 2 places. The government has put certain institutions which can be able to be, you can be able to take such ideas, and from there, we have financing portfolios that the government has put. Talk about the youth fund and stuff like that. We have the MCR, the medium small enterprise, that have got financing that go towards such kind of ideas. I know also KEPSA, and you are a strong member in that, and that's really a channel now that have got such programs. So we have institutions that can be able to grow ideas. Like Kidri also is one of the government institutions that also try to incubate ideas. So we have government institutions that somebody can visit and be able to grow your idea. So let not your idea be lying somewhere, and yet we have institutions that you can visit, and they'll welcome you with ideas. So long as the idea is innovative, idea can probe into employment opportunities, I want to believe somebody will listen to you. Now, coming back to your question about brokerage and people taking advantage of maybe the farmer in agribusiness. Agribusiness is an area, as we talk about this, they talk of about 30% or 45% of the GDP of Kenya is supposed to be, helped through agriculture. And as they say, it's the backbone of Africa, not even Kenya. And so it's an area where, as we go through the program of encouraging youth, encouraging people to get into business, we encourage them to focus more on agriculture. But as it is, agriculture has had a lot of unstructured approach in running their business. Talk about even chicken. It's so unstructured. I mean, you are on your little farm, struggling on your own. You don't know what to do next. What happens is that, bottom line, a middleman comes, takes advantage of you, and wanakufinyilia chini. Kuku umeweka kuku mzuri, it's worth maybe 1,000 shillings, anakuambia hii, if you don't give me 400, I mean, I'm gone. I'll go to the next farmer. Because of the unstructured manner of doing these things, so farmers are losing out. Now, what are we telling our own youth is that you put yourself in groups. And if you put yourself in groups, therefore you have a bargaining approach to this farm. You have the bargaining approach to this business. So use groups, use government intended structures for you to be able to make good business out of it. Now, looking, for example, like those days we used to have KFA. It's still there, but maybe not as it's supposed to be, where inputs for the farmer is being brought in through a system, and therefore the farmer can get it at a subsidized, or not really subsidized, but a slightly lower price. So such kind of structures will help us deal with middlemen. If you go for the matatu industry, for example, the matatu industry has also tried to put those structures in place. So when you put those structures in place, you're able to manage the little groups that you have in between before you reach the market. So for the farmers and those getting into agribusiness, let's start by putting ourselves into little groups, and these little groups will make us minimize the middleman. This is a capitalistic market, and being a capitalistic market, you cannot rubbish this middleman. The middleman is trying to take advantage of information that the next person doesn't know. So if you don't know that there is onion or kuna nyanya zinauzwa mali fulani, the middleman will take advantage of that. So he'll come and take the nyanya and say, in fact, imejaa kwa market. Hii hata hii usiponipatia hii, naona tu itaharibika. So you, in the fear of imejaa kwa market, you will sell at that lower price, and the guy takes advantage to the other side. So if we don't have that structured system, tutaendelea kuumia. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And just a comment from Nekesa Wafula. She talks about the trigger foods. I don't know if you're familiar with the trigger foods, the model that they came up with. If youths can do a case study of trigger foods, they can be able to tap into these opportunities when it comes to registered and organized brokerage or agents that do not necessarily oppress the farmer. Because what we want to promote is, yes, go into brokerage, leverage on the information you have, the networks you have, but at the same time appreciate the farmer on the ground, because even them, they want to make money out of their business, which is farming. So I'm seeing Chantal. Chantal, you seem to be aware of the Trigger Foods model. Probably you can just share a bit of, yeah.
Sorry, it's majorly a middleman as offering middleman services. However, I think the model is that there's transparency. So for you, even as a farmer or as someone who wants to get into the brokerage space for some businesses, it is important for you to have transparency between your two parties. So I think people will appreciate, or other businesses will appreciate more if you have transparency in your systems and in what you have to offer. Yeah, majorly that's it.
Okay, thank you. Collins, I don't know if you have anything to share on this issue of brokerage.
Yes, yes. We have, first of all, I'll start by saying we have the good brokers and we have the bad ones. It's normal in any divide, we have good and bad. The bad side has been touched on by Patrick, which is very, very true. They sometimes oppress the farmer by giving false information, knowing that the farmer is ignorant in some of this information. But we also have some good brokers, because the farmer will produce the maize. As a farmer, I'd want to go to the next thing immediately, not go around trying to sell my produce, which will take up my farming time. So if a broker who is good and appreciates the farmer comes in, they'll take my produce off my hands and I'll get funds to go into the next thing. So it is a two-way traffic, and it is important for things like for the agencies like Trigger Foods and others to come in, so that they can help the farmers not to be oppressed. So yeah, that is my part. Back to you, Anne.
Thank you so much. And just talking about this, the good brokers, it reminds me of a story. There's a certain farmer in Uasin Gishu County. Surprisingly, today that is the county we'll look at. And these guys, they started by planting maize. And they do a lot of maize. They plant a lot of maize. They're now doing canola just for purposes of nitrogen fixing of the soil for the next crop to be good. So the canola is more to fix the nitrogen in the soil. So they got to a point and they're like, yes, we can actually add value to this maize. But for purposes of value addition, if we just look at the maize that we have, we can only add value once in a year or twice in a year. It doesn't make sense. So they've come up with a model where they're actually working with farmers, and from the experience they had, they know the kind of fertilizers to use in particular different areas within the county and even the neighboring counties. So they're actually working with those farmers, giving them the right fertilizer and actually signing contracts where they pick their maize to grind. And I think this is where the youth can also look at that and see what opportunities are available in the market. I might not necessarily have the capital, and that is where the investor comes in. That is where the youth fund comes in. I might not necessarily have the capital, but I have the idea. I have the passion. I have the facts. So what is missing is the financing. Then how do I get this particular financing? Who are the people I can bring on board to actually push this idea? Because just tweaking something that is happening, tweaking it a bit actually creates a huge, huge opportunity. So I would like actually to encourage the youth, see how you can tweak the ideas that are present, because the opportunities are many. And that brings me now to the last question for our session, the issue of niche marketing. How do we, because we all know in Kenya, we have a tendency of copy pasting. Somebody starts a business, I want to do the same. How do I, as a youth, move away from that and create a niche that I can actually serve with my expertise and be able to earn the money that I expect to earn? Probably I'll start with you, Chantel, and then I'll come to you, Patrick. Any thoughts on that?
First of all, it would be to identify a particular need that is not being met. So you'd want to, first of all, identify what is this that is ailing a particular community, what is this that is ailing our nation, what is it that we are lacking, and then find a specific solution to that specific problem. Be innovative, work on research on other people's solutions that have been created before. There is this saying that it is okay to copy, but duplicating is what is an issue. You can't duplicate someone else's solution. So if they have worked on a solution already and it is not working to fix a particular need, you need to copy some of the input and then give your own personal touch to what is going to give a specific solution to that problem. Yeah, so Patrick probably can lay in on that.
Thank you, Chantal. We have just finished running a small hackathon in Kisumu, which was targeting at the fish value chain. And out of the experience of this hackathon is that there are a lot of the issues that the community is facing. And I think, as Anna's mentioned it, there's a lot of little tweaking in providing that little solution that the community needs. A lot of us, or a lot of the youth, have run away from so-called the village and gone to the urban setting. Now, the urban setting, you keep on now struggling with many of imported solutions. But if we go back into this community we have run away from, and we are running away from the problems, so-called, to go to the urban setting, those are the little problems that we need solutions to. The hackathon that we did in Kisumu, the solutions we are finding immediately it comes to you, it looks so obvious, but you realize, oh, to get from point A to B, I needed this gap to be fixed. So fixing that little gap is the solution, the niche that you need to get into. And trust me, before other people come into it, the initiator's investment and the initiator's benefits are usually huge. I remember when the M-Pesa came in, the people who had M-Pesa at that time were earning many and a lot of money. But when now everybody was doing it, you get from 1 meter M-Pesa, another 1 meter M-Pesa, the next 1 meter is M-Pesa. So bottom line is that now you are subdividing the little income that was coming across 100 meters. So for the youth now, we encourage them to start going in for the investors' benefit of revenue. Get into any little solution for the community. No, the other day I saw somebody was doing like, I come from a maize production area. You just want to grind your mahindi, unasiaga mahindi, just something small that they can use kusiaga mahindi. For the little mama, she doesn't need to go to the posho mill. She can grind it pole pole pale nyumbani. Small solutions like that can be able to be marketed across many homes and many households, and that is money. So if the youth can start looking at the solutions or the problems that they have run away from the village, go back and start looking at it, and then come back with innovations that are going to solve those little solutions, those are the little niches that they can start looking at and creating solutions for. And you'll make money. You'll make money from that kind of things. Thank you, Anne.
Thank you very much. Again, another comment from Nekesa before I come to you, Collins. She's talking about middlemen or brokerage is a necessary evil. And farmers just either need to be smart in their negotiations or come together in groups, as you had said, Patrick, that will give them market, production, and logistical information so that they can make informed decisions when dealing with brokers or agents. So I think this is something that if a youth is thinking of getting into agribusiness, setting up a business model that is aligned to that, then the issue of information is very key to be able to negotiate well with the brokers or the agents that they deal with. Collins, any take on the issue of niche?
I think I like the way I like the way Patrick has put it. Identify a problem and then identify the solution. And that will go back to the initial question that you had asked me, the role of the teachers, guardians, and parents. So if the parents and the teachers are able to cultivate a culture of problem solving in a critical manner, then the youth will be able to come out, look at a solution, look at a problem and get a solution. Be the initiators, be the first ones to get there. And also, Chantal talked about it is okay to copy, but how do you copy? Are you copying the solution? Are you duplicating everything the way it is? So they have to be critical in how they look at it so that they can find that specific space. We are about, I think, 8 billion or 9 billion people in the world. So everyone has a space. We just need to look for it. Back to you, Anne.
Thank you very much. And we've actually run out of time. But one of our Wafula Nekesa, I know her. She's very passionate about agriculture, and she's actually sharing links that those who are interested in agribusiness can actually follow and for free training sessions. So what is projected on the screen is that, and the link is actually there. So if you're interested in agribusiness, probably you can go there and learn more about innovations in that particular sector. So at this juncture, unfortunately, it seems like we've lost Chantal. I hope she'll join us before we end. Just getting your closing remarks. What do you want to leave the youth listening to us? What message do you want to leave with them? Parents, some parents who are watching, what do you want to share with them as we end this session of leveraging strategies for earning money?
I think there's a problem with Anne's internet. Maybe Patrick, you can give your closing remarks.
Okay, thanks, Colin.
Yes.
Oh, she's back.
Sorry, my network also disappeared. Sorry.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. Collins had already jumped in, and
Thanks, Collins. Thank you.
I think to me the great thing I would wish to encourage the youth as we are looking at the right hand side of the quadrant is that it is the most what do you call it, beneficial, because you have the freedom, you make more money, and of course there's that liberty on how you handle yourself. But the crucial point to me to stress it out is that the youth are at a stage where they can dare, they can risk, they can innovate, they can think, because some of those little things they're thinking about might not have been tested. And you have not failed, you have not gone down. By the time you're doing 40, 50, there are things you have tried and you have failed and you become more cautious. So at their stage where they can dare, let them take advantage of that. Out of 10, maybe 5 or 6 of their ideas will succeed. And those 5 or 6 ideas that will succeed is what will make them business owners, is what will make them attract investors to get into their businesses. So let them take advantage of their youth. In fact, as the Bible says, you take advantage of your youth, right? And exploit it. Exploit it for the good. Exploit it for the innovation. Exploit it for creating solutions to the community. And if they do that, we're going to have new things coming into the market, and it's going to make Kenya a better country. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Chantal, your closing remarks to our youth. Chantal, can you hear us?
I can hear you now.
Okay, sir. Your closing remarks, please. Oh, okay. We seem to have lost her. Let's come to you, Collins. Your closing remarks.
Okay. Thank you very much, Anne. Now, I'd like to talk to parents, teachers, and guardians. Let's support our youth. They can come with crazy ideas. Let's be there for them. Let's inspire them to go through with the ideas. And I like the way Patrick has put it. Let them do it and fail, because in the process of failing, but let me just put a disclaimer there, controlled failing, because there are some failings in terms of finances which cannot be handled. So controlled failing is good because they learn from it. To the youth, let us not just stick to the normal parameters. Let us not accept the M-Pesa shop, boda, and so on. Let's think outside the box. Many youth are running away from agribusiness because they're afraid it's dirty or it's not suiting them. Challenge yourself. Look at things like apiary, look at horticulture, and so on. And you'll realize that there's more to it than we think of most of the time. And then lastly, this is to the youth and to everyone else out there. It's better you do something and fail than having the idea in your mind and 40, 50 years down the line saying, I wish I did A, B, C, D. Just cross the waters and see what happens at the end of the day. Thanks to our viewers and everyone who's been with us. Asanteni sana. Back to you, Anne.
Thank you. Chantal, your closing remarks?
Well, all said and done, I think the most important thing for us as youth is to push ourselves and to assert ourselves and to give it our best so that we can foresee our plans, we can work on them and actually get to actualize them by the end of time. Yes, thank you.
Wow, that's powerful. So thank you so much. Mine is let's innovate, let's innovate, let's innovate. You can always innovate. Just open your mind to possibilities because the opportunities are so many. So let's learn to innovate. And that also touches on the mindset. So the mindset that we have when you're talking about the right quadrant, where you are a business owner, where you are an investor, then your mindset has to be totally different. So as we continue to explore this topic of finance, let's see how what we can pick out of this. But what we continuously ask is have an open mind. Pick what you think is relevant for you and implement. The challenge we have mostly is we don't implement. So whatever little idea you have, go ahead and implement. As Patrick keeps saying, you are still young. You can actually dare to make mistakes, controlled mistakes, so that you learn from that and you keep on becoming better. It's like sharpening your saw. So keep on sharpening that saw by practicing what you think about, by daring to dare. Then so many years down the line, you'll be looking back and you'll be like, it's good I attempted to do ABCD, and you won't have regrets. So that is my parting shot. And I'd like to thank our audience for being with us. Mostly, I would like also to thank our panelists. Patrick, as usual, it's always a pleasure being with you. Chantal, thanks so much for bringing that perspective to this particular program. And Collins, you know, it's always a pleasure having you here and just bringing that perspective from a school environment. It really brings it home. So thank you so much and wishing you a lovely weekend. Join us again next week on Saturday, same channel. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Anne. Thank you, everybody.